Funding for this program is provided by the Fulton County Board of Commissioners.
You're watching People TV, Channel 24.
Call your state legislator, call your city council person, write them, email them, and say, I want my People TV, because I know that free speech ain't free.
Help save our voices. Save People TV.
You're watching People TV, Channel 24.
You know that some people unfortunately lost their lives during the pandemic. My heart goes out to them. But the pandemic has shown us all that there is now a new way of living. Virtual learning, Zoom. I think companies are seeing that they're spending, that less is more. So having less buildings, but facilitating Zooms and extending learning centers will actually, I think, become the new wave of the future.
This pandemic is not over, people. Please continue to wear your mask. Please continue to wash your hands. Keep your hands out of your face. Just do your part to be safe. You know, try not to be in large crowds. You know, stay at home when necessary, and just be safe.
Yeah, it's been a crazy experience, especially working in the public. So, you know.
You're what we call essential worker.
Yes, I'm considered an essential worker. And being an essential worker, it comes with all the good, the bad, the pros, all the cons. But it's life and we're trying to get through it.
COVID-19 has affected me. I'm in the medical field full time. So it's affected me to the point where I have a small child, and I have an older child, one in college and one in first grade. And as you know, first graders can't care for themselves. So when schools and camps closed down, I was forced to resign from my job at an OBGYN office. I'm a surgery scheduler and medical administrator, so I didn't have any other choice. My family helped me for as long as they could when it first started, but it came to a point where they had other stuff to do, jobs and things they had to take care of, and I basically had to resign from my job. And that whole unemployment thing is not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. So I just thank God for the support that I do have, but yeah, it's been a challenge.
Sir, I've been working during the entire pandemic. I've never had coronavirus, never been exposed to it, thank God. We have absolutely got to make a difference. And the only way we're going to do that, get rid of this virus, get rid of all of these different crimes, things that are happening, you know, with police beating up our folks and killing our people.
I don't want you to let your guard down. We are still in the midst of a national pandemic, COVID-19. And I have been working diligently with our mayor and council, and I have sponsored many food giveaways, drive-through food giveaways to address the food insecurities for many who are experiencing challenging times.
All of us have to be encouraged that we must do the thing that the scientists say in terms of the pandemic. It's very simple. Wear a mask, social distancing, and washing your hands.
The virtual life is probably very difficult for you.
It was definitely difficult with classes like Stats 2 and Business Law. It's kind of difficult trying to learn those things online. So being out of the classroom is pretty difficult, so you just got to make the best of it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, limiting large groups is obviously great. It's going to be harder as, you know, the weather turns cold, the sun goes down earlier, but we got to stick through it. You know, winter's pretty mild here, so that's good. And hopefully, you know, we'll get through the other side.
COVID is real.
the biggest thing that we can do more of that we're not doing, please, people, put your mask on. Even if you don't want to wear a mask, just be respectful to your other peers and friends that's near. You don't know their history, you don't know their medical conditions, you don't even know your complete medical conditions, because this is a virus that sneaks up on you, and you may think it's something minor and it turns into something major. So just be mindful of that and respectful. I know it's not the norm where you're not used to having something on your face all the time, but think outside the box and just think of safety more than anything.
Since March 2nd, when our governor announced the first 2 COVID-19 cases in Georgia, both of which were here in Fulton County, the number of cases has increased to 187 as of today, which means that Fulton County is the epicenter of the virus here in Georgia and represents more than 20% of the cases in the state of Georgia. Today, the Fulton County Board of Health declared a local public health emergency in our county.
All right, here we go, guys.
Oh my God, you look so nice, Johnny. Behind the scenes before we go live.
While I do have the Zoom audience here, I first want to welcome everybody to the program. Thank you so much. This is a Fulton County Arts Council presentation. I've been going out shooting interviews with people, talking about their COVID-19 pandemic experiences. And I've had a good time. I've talked to about 4 people who've actually had the virus and survived. And then a lot of people who have lost business. I talked to a number of businesses who have been suffering and are trying to survive. Marquessa, maybe we can, how many people do we have in Zoom right now?
We have a little less than a dozen. A lot of more viewers, and we got, I think, a few of your special guests that are here.
Okay, I see Ed Johnson and Ben Howard are there. So why don't we do a round robin and let those who are willing come and introduce yourselves, and maybe we can all just take a moment and tell us from your perspective what your pandemic experiences have been. Have you lost business? Did you catch Corona? As I said earlier, I spoke with about 4 people who actually caught Corona and survived. And one of them, or 2 of them actually, are long haulers that are having issues still after recovery. So if we got people out there in Zoom land that
all right,
they'd like to tell us, maybe
you know what? All right. Hey, guys. I'm Marquessa here, moderating with Johnny. I am so excited about this project. He is super talented. The COVID-19 experience. But thank you for wanting to just inspire people, because there's so many people with this terrible disease, terrible virus, I guess we would call it, and they feel alone. So I'm glad you're doing this and asking people to share their stories. I'm glad that this is live in Atlanta. Now, before we go to different people, Johnny, quickly, if you could share, what made you want to do this project?
The Fulton County Arts Council, I believe they got money from the CARES Act from the federal government, and they had a request for proposals for people to do virtual presentations. And so everybody, all of the artists are probably doing what we're doing right here, Zoom and what have you. And I wanted to take an opportunity to give, we've been listening to Talking Heads for 10 months now. And very few opportunities for regular people to chime in and have their say. And, like I said, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are out here struggling. They're, potentially going to be, a lot of people getting evicted. There's a lot of people out of work, obviously. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to chime in and tell us their stories about, how this pandemic is impacting their lives. And that's pretty much the crux of it. Fulton County Arts Council, I want to thank you guys again, Chantress Lakes and the team over there. My story again is basically in December, I started seeing the chatter online, and I started telling a number of my friends and that they need to kind of, be looking out for it and start getting prepared. In fact, I talked to one young lady that is one of my friends, and we were kind of online together, seeing a lot of this. Her name is Stephanie Cunningham, and she's what's known as a Black prepper. And for those of you guys who know about the prepping scene, that's for people who are kind of preparing for doomsday or pandemics like this.
Whoa! What? Really? This is what they do. Oh my goodness!
I mean, there's a whole range and slew of people in the prepper category. Some of them are real serious. They have whole communities that have underground apartments, if you will, and underground living quarters and what have you. But this young lady, she was one of the ones who was also seeing the chatter coming out of Wuhan and out of China, and seeing the effects of the beginning effects of coronavirus. And we were talking back and forth, and I was a little skeptical as well, but as things kept going, you could see that it had all the hallmarks of a pandemic, and definitely that's
Stephanie Cunningham, Stephanie. I mean, I realized it was real way before anybody else realized it was real back in late December. I follow these 2 gentlemen that are married to Chinese women, and they were telling everybody, what was going on over in China. The U.S. or no other country was talking about it. And so I started paying attention. And I was like, we're interconnected globally, so there's no way that wasn't going to spread over to the United States. So that's when I started paying attention, and then I started following another YouTuber, which is very good, peakprosperity.com. And that was like, I want to say he posted his first video on January 24th. Like I said, he told everybody it had all the hallmarks of a pandemic. He put up the WHO's definition and the CDC's definition of a pandemic, and it checked off most of the boxes, and it was headed to checking off all of them. So I didn't know anything about N95 mask, what that was, or anything. And he told everybody to go, go get N95 masks, go stock up on food, 3 months, worth of food, 6 months is even better. Ammo, if you have a gun, if you don't, buy a gun. I want to say like January 31st, that's when I bought my first N95 mask from Home Depot. And I just started from there, just stocking food and buying ammo offline before we, got to the shortage that we are now. I got all my ammo before that happened. I would say, it was a little bit of fear because I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to come because, we're just too connected. Planes are flying everywhere. So I knew it was coming. So I wanted my family to be prepared so when it did hit, we would be prepared. We wouldn't have to leave the house. We had, 6 months worth of food and supplies here with us. So when everybody else was running around frantic looking for toilet paper, I had 6 months worth of toilet paper already. So I would say, it probably was initially out of fear, but once it actually hit the U.S. and everybody else was fearful, we weren't fearful at that time. Our fear was over because we already was prepared at that time. My friends, have people close to them that have caught the virus, and some of them have had family members die. But I've only had one close person catch it, but she was fine after a couple of weeks. First of all, I thought it was important for me to warn my friends. Everybody that's close to me in my circle. So my friends, they all went out. I told them to stockpile at least 3 months. 6 months is better. The ones that did have guns, I told them to make sure they purchased ammo. The ones that didn't have guns, like my girlfriends, I told them to go buy guns. And they did. So the people that were in my direct circle, everybody was prepared. And they weren't, once everybody else was running around frantic, they were cool. They was like, oh, we can just sit back. We don't have to worry about going to the store. We can just, sit back and watch it play out. After now we're 9-10 months into it, it's like, okay, everybody's tired of it. Even we're tired of it. But this is the time to stay vigilant because the net is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't want to get caught in the net. So, but it's harder with a teenager because now she's like just going stir crazy and wants to get out the house, and she wants to do things. She's a senior this year, and trying to keep her settled and in the house, telling her that she can't give it to us, it's been a challenge.
Quarantine, state of emergency, shelter in place. The story of the coronavirus changes by the hour. So how exactly did we get here? Well, it all starts last December when some people in Wuhan, China, come down with an unusual form of pneumonia. China officially reports these cases to the World Health Organization on December 31st. And the next day, Wuhan shuts down a seafood market where experts suspect the virus originated. 1 week later, China deems that the mystery illness is a novel coronavirus. They also release the DNA sequence so scientists around the world can start developing a vaccine. They report their first death on January 11th. Fast forward 2 days, coronavirus hits Thailand, the first transmission outside mainland China. In the coming days, Japan and South Korea also announce cases.
肯定有嘛，因为你看我刚刚正好去买了口罩，然后我早上的时候是在我们家小区附近去买口罩，都已经买断了。
And on January 21st, the CDC reports the first U.S. case of coronavirus in Washington state.
This is certainly not a moment for panic or high anxiety. It is a moment for vigilance.
But back in China, the virus continues to grow. Wuhan goes into lockdown, and on January 23rd, they construct a major 1,000-bed hospital within 10 days, according to Chinese media. By the end of the month, things escalate back home. The White House launches a coronavirus task force. Chicago witnesses the first person-to-person transmission in the U.S. And the Trump administration suspends entry for foreign nationals who recently traveled to China. This all brings us to February, when Japan announces an outbreak on the Diamond Princess cruise ship near the port of Yokohama. 3,700 passengers go into quarantine.
The other thing we're concerned about is how are we going to get home right now?
Several Americans test positive for the virus after evacuating the ship. Meanwhile, Italy starts to place some towns under lockdown. And on February 26th, the CDC reports a patient in California with no known travel history or exposure to the virus.
This particular case could be the first possible instance of community transmission of COVID-19 in the United States.
But President Trump downplays the threat.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Just a few days later, Washington state records the first coronavirus-related death in the United States. At this point, the virus hits 54 countries with nearly 3,000 deaths worldwide. As we enter the month of March, state governments of California, New York, Maryland, Utah, Kentucky, and Oregon declare a state of emergency. And by March 8th, all of Italy goes into lockdown.
Tutte le strutture sanitarie sono in sovraccarico e in difficoltà, mancano medici, insomma la situazione è complicata.
Then this happens on March 11th.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Then President Trump limits travel from Europe. The NBA postpones its season, and Tom Hanks reveals that he and his wife have the virus. Trump then announces this a couple days later.
I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words.
Now that brings us to the week of March 15th. Scientists in Washington launched the first human trial for a vaccine. The Federal Reserve slashes interest rates to nearly zero. New York City closes its schools, bars, and theaters. The Bay Area tells residents to shelter in place. Trump signs off on an aid package to ease the financial fallout. And China records no new cases for the first time since the outbreak started. There's a lot to keep track of, and it's unclear where we go from here, but we'll be closely monitoring how this pandemic progresses, and we'll keep you informed no matter what happens next.
So we have a lot of folks here that are anxious, I should say, about sharing how this COVID-19 experience impacted them. And we have more than I'm letting in by the moment. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share, guys, just if you're here, do me a favor and just keep yourself off video until we really call you on. Let's see, Ben Howard, Senior Advisor. I know he's out of Atlanta.
Yes, Mr. Howard is one of my favorite people. How you doing, Mr. Howard?
Mr. Howard, go ahead and start your video. I see you there. You raised your hand. You said you want to share with us. So make sure you show your video there so everyone else can see you.
Hi, Johnny. I'm doing fine. And hi, folks. I'm doing fine. I guess my story is kind of brief because I'm hibernating and very seldom go out. When I go to the mailbox, I wear a mask. Look around, make sure the mailman isn't getting too close. But I want to applaud a number of organizations that are doing things. Quality Living Services, the Haven there, they're passing out face masks and checking on folks. The Council on Aging got a grant from Fulton County to distribute face masks. There are people with the seniors and law enforcement together group. One particular person there, Bobby Wing, is making masks and putting them in her mailbox, and people can swing by and pick up free masks from her mailbox. So it's things like that I'm keeping abreast of, and also keeping abreast of these various establishments where there is no posting of signs and no real emphasis on wearing face masks, and people kind of come and go as they please. I'm not going to name them here, but I will be naming them in the appropriate places. But that's about all I have to say for my opening comments. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Howard. Appreciate that. Johnny, I find it so shocking that, you know, we have more than I'm letting in by the moment. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share, guys, just if you're here, do me a favor and just keep yourself off video until we really call you on. Let's see, Ben Howard, Senior Advisor. I know he's out of Atlanta. literally you can go to different cities in this beautiful country and you don't have to leave your designated city or state, and people are not wearing masks. I don't get it. I don't get it, because it's not just for them and what's comfortable for them. But when I see someone here in New York City without a mask on, I'm not shy about saying, I'm sorry. That I feel disrespected in this moment. So don't get me started. But hopefully everyone that's watching this and they hear the stories, all different types of stories, they will, the next time they step outside their protected space, they will have a mask on.
I thought I saw earlier Ed Johnson in the room. Ed, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi,
Yay!
Ed. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Now, Ed is one of our top education specialists. He's always on the Board of Education for the Atlanta Public Schools, and he's also been doing what's the periodical that you've been doing, Ed? Has it been weekly that you've been doing COVID updates?
On average, about once or twice a week, yes.
Why don't you give us a little bit of synopsis of your experience and kind of keeping Atlanta updated on COVID-19 in Fulton County?
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Personally, I'm kind of at the stage in life where I don't have to be where I don't absolutely have to be. So therefore, I'm playing it safe. And fortunately, I would say I've not had any experience with losses of friends or family to the COVID-19 disease. So I guess I'm kind of fortunate. But one of the things that I do periodically, like Johnny just mentioned, is I keep track of data that the Georgia Department of Public Health, as well as the Fulton County here in Atlanta Department of Public Health publishes. And I do that to try to frame a message for distribution widely, not only here in Atlanta and Fulton County, but actually nationally and internationally as well. Using the data to convey how COVID-19 is spreading here in Georgia and in Fulton County, and to do so in such a way that it highlights, and this is important, it highlights the nature of decisions and non-decisions that are being made to battle COVID-19.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ed. It's good to know that you're part of the team out in Atlanta, trying to, again, put this in our rearview mirror. So thank you.
All right. Who else do we have out there? John Sharaf.
Talking to me?
Maybe you could talk a little bit about Georgia, the peaches on everything that you see in television and film. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about, anything that you know about how the production industry is going to come back here in Georgia, or what have you heard?
Hi, Johnny and everybody. Nice to see you, Calvin, and hear about the good works you're up to. The motion picture business, bunch of greedy assholes. We know that.
Like your honesty.
It's especially true because here they are risking everybody's life to make crappy movies. There's no reason that anybody should be making a movie right now unless they're doing it all by themselves.
Right.
I'm unsure if my friend from the motion picture industry, John Sheriff, did this film by himself, but it certainly is a short, sweet satire about how the coronavirus is taking hold in the mountains of the Berkshires, Massachusetts.
Beautiful, isn't it?
like a still life painting. How I love nature. Does that surprise you? It shouldn't. After all, I am as much a part of nature as that tree, this grass, those majestic old mountains. And like them, I have my own intrinsic beauty. If Mother Nature is the Earth's queen, then I am her king. Just look at the crown I bear. My Corona. Nothing to do with the beer. Although it's certainly boosted their sales, hasn't it? You may say my reign is a cruel one, and from the human perspective, that's probably true. But as a natural being, I'm only doing what comes naturally. I live, I replicate, I flourish. Like a bear on the prowl, or a predator on the African plain, I weed out the weak, the old, the helpless. Call it natural selection. Call it survival of the fittest. Call it fate. Look at that lake. Its surface so placid and serene, and yet under that seemingly quiet surface, a constant struggle of life and death is going on. Little fish eating plants, bigger fish eating the little fish, and then people catching and eating the big fish. A perfect reflection of this chaotic world. Pandemics are hard work. And a little downtime in the Berkshires does a body good. Ah, fresh air. How invigorating after that filthy urban smog. Even the king of viruses needs a little TLC now and then. Isn't that why they come here? To relax amid nature? Soak up the culture? Of course, I've changed all that. It's a quiet summer now. No outdoor concerts or plays, no 4th of July fireworks. Not much of anything. Hardly a soul is stirring. I've seen a few of the brave ones out and about, trudging along the trails, masks in place, carefully keeping their social distance. They're the smart ones. Virus-fearing. I respect that. They need to recreate, and so do I. Recharge the batteries. Especially with fall just around the corner. I'll be so damn busy that I won't even have time to watch the leaves turn. Pity. Autumn is my favorite season. Nature's slow, graceful dance towards death. No, not death. More like a long sleep. I'll leave the dying to, well, you know. Can't say I feel sorry for them, the foolish ones. They thought they could play by their own rules. They thought that if they just ignored me, that I'd go away, like a bad dream. Dream on. As I travel across this great country, nothing makes my heart beat faster than the sight of a crowded beach, a basement bar packed with warm bodies, an indoor rally with wall-to-wall people shouting, cheering, laughing, and spewing out those precious pearls of me into the stale air. I've heard that their scientists are working on a, well, the V word. But that'll take time. At least a year, probably longer. By that time, I'll have transmuted into a new strain. They're not going to dethrone this king. Oh no. I'm here to stay. I'm going viral. Get it? Viral? Didn't know I had a sense of humor, did you? Will you look at that? The sun's starting to set behind the mountains. It's like the sky's on fire. Huh. Those sunbeams are shooting up like the golden spikes of my corona. Which reminds me, it's time to get back to work. Got a lot of ground to cover tonight. Towns and cities where people are less fearing and more thoughtless. It'll be easy picking for the most part. Something almost unsportsmanlike about it, like shooting fish in a barrel. But you won't hear me complaining. A virus has to do what a virus has to do. After all, it's our nature. Goodbye. It was nice chatting with you. Enjoy the sunset. While you can.
But the problem is everyone is confused about everything, about their business, about their hygiene, about the medicine, about the future, about the past, about the present.
Well, that's because the leadership from the top, kind of, did their thing.
Fortunately, we have someone like Trump to blame for everything, but that doesn't absolve us of our own intelligence and using our intelligence. Everyone is conflicted between what they know, what they believe, and what they want. And, just God bless you all. Do the best you can. Whether we live or die, there's a lot of chance involved in all of this.
Right.
But as an older person, someone who's, compromised, I've been isolating like a motherfucker.
Look, you moved just in time. I mean, you're in a great spot. Johnny, I hope you don't mind me saying.
I wish
you
I
moved
could
to Massachusetts in an isolated area. It's a beautiful spread, several acres. And so you moved right in time.
It's true. And, to a certain extent, I feel guilty about it. But on the other hand, I'm so glad I'm not sitting in that warehouse in Atlanta, people coming to my door and knocking and having to deal with them.
Right.
But, as I say, the motion picture business, everyone's just got to be innovative and consider the personal safety, number one. Not exposing others to their potential infection.
Sure.
And with that in mind, spend 100% of your time working on this election. I wish I was, I don't know how I would deal with it. Okay, so I am susceptible. But I would be really conflicted if I was there in Georgia about, how could I get involved and do something to help? And that's the existential issue. Every department, the election, my life, where I have lunch, where I get, the bread. Fortunately, like I say, we're here up in the mountain. We get the food delivered. Everything's cool. But at some point, in the next 3 months, the supply lines could all go to hell. FedEx, yes, these guys could be, vacant. And, we have to be prepared for everything. I always used to make fun of the survivalists.
Preference, yeah, that's right. We talked about them earlier.
96. I'm a prepper since 96.
I mean, the only thing is I don't have a gun, but I mean, if I did, I could go shoot a deer and probably be okay for a while. They come right up here and sniffing my garbage. But, it's great seeing all you guys.
Again, of course, probably last early part of the spring, March, about the time it started gaining more traction, when Trump likes to say he shut down America by cutting the Chinese off, but he forgot that he let 40,000 people in that weren't tested. And most of them went through New York, which is why probably New York had a huge outbreak right in the beginning there.
Well, for me, I'm an educator in Douglas County, and it was kind of your whispers going around. Of course, obviously, you've seen it on the news, and it came from China, then it started getting closer, people started getting sick on cruise ships or whatnot. But then there was a school, I believe, in Fulton County that had a case. And once that happened, we all wanted to know, are they going to shut the schools down? How long are we going to be out of school? Things like that. It had gotten really close to home. And then, of course, the administration would start to give us information piece by piece. And then we start to figure like, hey, we're going to be out of school soon. So that's when it started. But I think it really hit home for me when I went to the grocery store and all of your toiletries and your essentials were emptied out.
I'm asking everyone the same question. Where were you? What were you doing? What do you remember about when you first learned that this was a real pandemic?
We were actually coming back from a cruise. Actually, the television and everything was covered with news about the pandemic. And when we actually reached back, that's when everything shut down. So that's when we really realized that this was a problem.
Yeah, as she said, we were on a cruise ship and we were watching the news on the cruise ship about how a cruise ship was docked. And this was before we had realized it had even reached the United States. And so we knew at that point that it was going to be something serious. And so that was actually the last vacation we took. I think it was around January or February of this year.
It was the end of February.
And so the pandemic really got ramped up around March and April in the country. And so we've been social distancing and wearing masks ever since.
And still caught the virus.
Right. We took all of the necessary precautions that we needed to take, and we still wound up contracting the virus.
I'm considered a long hauler because I'm still battling cough, this dry, consistent cough. Tested negative 3 times, but still have this cough.
How long has it been since you were actually really under the weather, aside from the long haul? It's been a little more than a month now. A little more than a month now.
And we had mild to moderate symptoms, but still this lingering. So this pandemic is horrible. So if you have kids coming home from college, I know we want to spend time with our family, but just this time, sacrifice. And next Thanksgiving, the holidays, we'll be together.
Rather miss them one time than miss them forever, and all the family together. And I tell people it's just a small snapshot in time. Let's just make this one sacrifice from now to the end of the year, and it seems that things will get better.
It was back in February. It was right before my birthday. Plans, concerts, the birthday planning, everything. A lot of stuff started being canceled. New York, where I'm from and most of my family are, and hearing the numbers going up. And I think it was the first case in Jersey. I could be incorrect. It was like a family got sick. It was like they had a family dinner, and I heard it was like 6 members of a family that passed away, and that's when it really hit. That was people in a household. It wasn't outside people. It was just people that are usually with each other. That's really when it hit home for me.
I remember I was in the car with my mom, and her cousin had gotten coronavirus. And it was the first person I personally knew to get coronavirus, and that's when I realized it was serious. I think that was back in April. It was pretty early on during the pandemic.
I was at the doctor's lounge at the hospital, and we were looking at China and recognizing that the coronavirus was spreading. So the doctors and I discussed that and said, with Hartsfield-Jackson Airport being one of the largest in the world, it may not be long before we're getting it here in Atlanta. And we kind of laughed and said, wow, is that a possibility? And within 2 weeks' time, we were inundated with patients with coronavirus. The hospitals here in Atlanta, as you remember, in March and April, were really hit pretty strong, and we really had to learn on the job how quickly to respond to this pandemic.
When I learned the COVID pandemic was real, I'm sort of the person that's out of touch because I work a lot. So I don't really turn on the TV. I just hear what's around me, and I hear people talking, and of course I'm a nurse, so I'm in the environment. But I've been a nurse for 20 years, so sickness is sickness. And how you handle it is how you handle it. It's just work for me. So I just went with the precautions, but when it became real to me is when it started to affect my everyday life. Like on an off day, I have things that I generally do. Like go to the mall. And then I called a friend and she was like, what are you doing today? I said, I'm going to the mall. She was like, really? I was like, yeah. She said, you don't know the malls are closed? I said, what do you mean the malls are closed? Now that is when it became real to me.
Hi, I'm Ursula Phoenix Ware with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I'm here today with Dr. Henry Walk, Incident Manager for CDC's response to COVID-19. Welcome, Dr. Walk. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
And thank you, Ursula. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Walk, as you know, this pandemic has been going on for quite a while, and people have been taking measures to protect themselves and stay safe for a very long time. What can you say to everyone out there to help them better understand how they can continue to protect themselves against COVID-19?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Now is really the time to be vigilant. As the cold weather comes in and cases are rising across our country, and we see hospital admissions are rising as well, now's the time to be vigilant. We have to be careful in our interactions with other people. We need to wear a mask. We need to watch our distance, and we need to wash our hands.
Wonderful. So what are some of the most important ways that I and the viewers can do to protect ourselves against COVID-19?
Yeah, again, the virus is spread through droplets through from our mouth and from our nose. And so one of the most effective ways to prevent transmission or infecting others is to wear a mask. Just a very simple cloth mask that goes over your ears can really stop transmission. It collects those large droplets. And the most important piece to remember is that people aren't always symptomatic. They don't have symptoms sometimes when they're infected. And so this mask can prevent spread of the virus from those who not only who are symptomatic, but also those who don't have any symptoms at all and are just walking around our society potentially infected and could spread. So we need to wear a mask when we're out in public, outside of our households. We also need to watch our distance. So this would be maintaining at least 6 feet between people. Wear a mask, watch your distance, and then wash your hands. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds at a time. So those are the 3 W's. We also want people to avoid large gatherings. This is also an event, for example, where we could see a lot of spread. People come together, 20, 30 people together, not from the same households. This is where transmission can easily spread. So wear a mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands, and avoid large gatherings.
So on the subject of masks, and I have my mask here with me today, one of the questions that we get pretty regularly on social media is, do I really need to wear a mask?
Well, the simple answer is yes. And not only wear a mask, but wear it appropriately. You know, we see people, and you walk around in our society, you'll see people wearing it on their chin, wearing it on their mouth, wearing it with their nose uncovered. And again, these droplets, these respiratory droplets or particles are spread from our mouth and from our nose. So we need to actually cover both to be effective. So, and the mask is really protecting others. So again, I could be infected and have no symptoms at all. And by wearing a mask in public, I'm protecting others from becoming infected. So yes.
Absolutely. Dr. Walk, we also get a lot of questions about testing. Can you talk more about testing and where I can go about getting testing completed?
Yes. So if you have symptoms of COVID-19, and that would include fever, headache, a runny nose, a cough, then you should be tested. Those that have a close contact, within 6 feet for a total of more than 15 minutes to a case, a person who has confirmed COVID-19, those people should be tested. So if you have symptoms, you should be tested. If you're a close contact of someone who is a confirmed case, they should be tested, as well as your state and local health department may recommend certain populations to be tested. For example, those on college campuses or potentially those in particular workplaces. Where to be tested is a separate question. So there's testing in these community testing sites, for example. The easiest way to be tested is actually to call your healthcare provider. See your healthcare provider, describe your symptoms, and then they can help you arrange a test, either at their office or actually at a community healthcare center, a federally qualified healthcare center, or a community testing site. So multiple options to be tested. So please, any symptoms, close contact with someone who's a confirmed case, or if your state or local health department asks you to be tested, there's a lot of options for testing.
All right, good deal. Earlier in our chat, you mentioned travel. With the winter holidays approaching, is it safe to travel to see family and friends?
Well, unfortunately, the short answer to that question is you shouldn't travel unless you have to. It's more essential travel. So I think I would say stay home if you can, and that will limit your risk. If you must travel for whatever reasons, and people have different reasons that they need to travel, then wear a mask and wash your hands and watch your distance. The concern about travel is whether you're in an airport or a bus terminal, a train terminal. People are in line. They tend to bunch up, and they can't maintain their distance as well. And so if you must travel, then be careful. Do the 3 W's. Wear a mask, watch your distance, wash your hands, and avoid crowding and clumping together in those terminal hubs, those hubs where a lot of where people are gathering to get onto an airplane or get onto a train. So avoid travel if you can, and if you must, then please wear a mask and watch your distance and wash your hands.
So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but let's talk a little more about this. What can people do to safely spend time with their families during the holiday season?
Yeah, so as the holidays approach, cold weather is also approaching, and people tend to congregate inside. So outdoors is better than indoors. And so if you have gatherings, friends and neighbors and families, it's best to have this outdoors, appropriately distanced with mask. So outdoors better than indoors. If you're indoors, then lower the number of people in a room so you can appropriately distance. Open a window if that's possible. Put a fan in the window to increase ventilation, pulling the air out of the room. And then wear a mask, wash your hands, watch your distance. So the 3 W's and avoiding those sort of large clumping of people, high density of people together is what we could do. I encourage people to put their coats on and talk outside if they can.
All very important. One final question, Dr. Walk. What would you tell a friend or family member to do to avoid COVID-19?
Similar things, and I'll just hesitate to repeat myself again, the 3 W's for certain, and avoiding crowds, but also to maintain vigilance. We're all tired. We're fatigued. We're months into the pandemic. And so people tend to let down their guard, and let down their mask. And now's not the time to do that. Again, we're seeing the cases go up. We're seeing hospital admissions go up. And so I tell my family and friends you can have interactions with your friends. You can have interactions with families, but there's ways to do it safely. So I know it's hard, and I know that there may be many more months of this to come, because we'll have vaccine, but we won't have vaccine for everyone, and so we'll still have to maintain these measures we've been talking about: washing your hands, watching your distance, and wearing a mask, and avoiding large gatherings. But this works. We've seen it work in multiple places, in multiple counties, in multiple cities around the nation. So if we can maintain our vigilance, and we can maintain our social networks at an appropriate distance, we'll get through this together.
All right, good deal. Well, thank you, Dr. Walk. This has been a pleasure. We appreciate all the information that you've provided for us this afternoon.
Great, thank you.
And thank you all for watching. You heard from our expert. You can slow the spread of COVID-19 by wearing a mask consistently and correctly, staying at least 6 feet apart, and washing your hands often for at least 20 seconds. Be sure to stay updated on the latest COVID-19 information by visiting cdc.gov/coronavirus. Stay safe and healthy.
How to clean and disinfect your home if someone has COVID-19. For common areas of the home. Each day, clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces and items. High-touch surfaces include tables, countertops, light switches, doorknobs, and cabinet handles. Put on disposable gloves. First, clean the surface with soap and water. Then, use a household disinfectant. Read the label to see how long you should keep the disinfectant on the surface. Have good airflow and ventilation. follow instructions about rinsing off chemicals. Be sure to put products where children cannot reach them. To clean electronics, follow the manufacturer's instructions. Or use alcohol-based wipes or spray containing at least 70% alcohol. Wash dishes and utensils with soap and hot water or run them in a dishwasher. For sick areas or rooms of the home. A person who is sick should stay in a separate area or room and use a separate bathroom if possible. Only clean these areas if something gets soiled. This will help limit your contact. Have the person who is sick wear a mask. A caregiver may also wear a mask. Dedicate a lined trash can if available. Remove the gloves and wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. For more on cleaning and disinfecting your home for COVID-19, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus.
William Cleveland, William Cleveland. As you know, they were discussing the pandemic in China and hopefully thinking that it would just be isolated to Asia and China. But we recognize that with international travel being what it is, it wouldn't be long before Hartsfield Airport would be recognizing that. And in fact, very shortly thereafter, we realized that there was a cruise ship passengers who were actually taken to Hartsfield, and many of them had coronavirus on the cruise ship, and here they were in Atlanta being released into the public. And that's just one example of how quickly it spread and how little we knew about it at the time. And we certainly learned very quickly how devastating and how rapidly this virus could be and has been. Well, I'm a nephrologist, and a nephrologist is the person that takes care of patients with kidney disease. We primarily take care of patients that have high blood pressure and diabetes, and as you probably know, and many people know, high blood pressure and diabetes can cause injury to the kidney and resulting in kidney failure. When patients develop kidney failure, then they need dialysis, and that's what we do here at this location and other locations, take care of patients that are on dialysis that have kidney failure. Our job is to make sure that they get the right treatment, they get the right medications, and make sure they get the right medical examinations that will allow them to stay healthy on dialysis. Dialysis is a process that takes 3 times a week for about 3 to 4 hours each session. And so the patients are with us for a long time and many hours, and it's our job to make sure the education and the medical needs are met. And so as a nephrologist, I've been doing this for many years, and there are many nephrologists in Atlanta that do this. There are well over 100 nephrologists in Atlanta, and our center is in Southwest Atlanta, but we actually work at other centers throughout the city as well. Well, it's been well known throughout the years that African Americans suffer 3 to 4 times the rate of kidney failure than European Americans or Caucasian Americans. And so this has been a fact that we've had to live with since kidney disease has been recognized. And so in Atlanta, there are literally thousands of dialysis patients, that is, patients that have kidney failure that require dialysis, and many of them are African American.
It's obviously one of those underlying conditions that contribute to a lot of people passing away from this COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, COVID-19 is just added to the possibility of developing kidney failure. One of the complications of COVID-19 is kidney failure, and we are seeing patients that present to the hospital for the first time that have COVID, and they present with kidney failure that require dialysis. And so that's one of the bad side effects, or one of the actually effects of COVID-19, is to develop to present with injury to the kidney, developing kidney failure. We're looking forward to that. That's something that we've been waiting for, the vaccines. We've lived through the other challenges of virus spread throughout the years and recognize how they have changed life so dramatically well. The polio virus in the 1950s changed the face of America when thousands and thousands of kids developed polio and were paralyzed, and the hospitals were filled with kids. And then the polio vaccine came out in 1956, and all of a sudden things changed dramatically, and now there are hardly any, or there are no cases of polio in America today. We recognize that the flu vaccine has been out for the last 10 to 15 years, and we recognize, although many people still may contract the flu, but the incidence of the flu is certainly decreased because of the vaccines. The measles vaccine, the mumps vaccine, all of the diphtheria vaccines have all changed the life of Americans for the better. So this is just going to be an additional vaccine that we're looking forward to changing our lives for the better and bringing us back to a more normal lifestyle.
Good morning. I'm here at Wolf Creek Amphitheater, the testing site for COVID here in Fulton County, in South Fulton County, and I'm waiting for someone to come and let me in to see the testing operations. But as you can see, we have a lot of people in line this morning waiting to get tested, which is a great thing because we have quite a lot of COVID spread in the community right now. So if you haven't been tested and you're looking to get tested, the Wolf Creek Amphitheater is one of the free testing sites that you can come out to. You don't have to register in advance. You can just come out and get in line, as you see these people here doing, and register once you get up to the testing site. So everybody right now, do your due diligence, wash your hands, mask up, social distance, and please get tested.
My name is Oluyinka Olaufe, and that's Oluyinka, and last name is Olaufe, which is Olaof as in Frank E. I actually got an email from the management at the mall, Greenboro Mall, where I used to be, and stating, asking questions about what times do I want to open and close and things like that. So initially, the very first day that I got the email, I still didn't take it serious. So I'm like, okay, I want to sell, so why do I want to close my store? So, but then I think at the end of the day, that very day, or the very end of the day, and more people started talking about the COVID and things like that. So the next day when I went to the store, I already got to know that, okay, this is real. So when I got to the store that very day, I just entered my store and I locked myself in there. Because I'm like, okay, nobody's going to come in here. So I just went to the back and just lay down there that, well, just to, do the rules of the mall, you still have to open the store and stuff like that. So I just locked myself in there. Like, I don't want anybody to come in to the store and try on my clothes, and because I don't know what anybody got. So
right,
yeah.
And this was early on
in March.
In March, when we really didn't know a lot about how it's transmitted and everything.
Yeah. I was there for a year and 4 months. Yeah, I would say a year and 4 months. Really and truly, that wasn't enough time for me to establish myself. But of course, COVID came in and then messed up the whole thing. I thought, because I used to be at home before, and I realized that, of course, a lot of people like what I make because I design my clothes myself. They're custom make outfits. Growing up, I've always loved to dress up. I love fashion and things like that. So, and of course, back home, that's what I did in school. I did dressmaking and textile studies.
And back home is where?
In Nigeria. 4 years ago when I actually started my business, because even along the line when I was working at the lab and stuff like that, I used to sell handbags and stuff like that, because I would sit down and design. I love to design my outfit myself, and people always ask me like, oh, who made your clothes, who did this? And sometimes I actually even design for people, give them ideas of, you know, it's my joy to sell to people when they walk into your store and they try on outfits and they're really in love with it. And like I said, COVID has really impacted my business because I had to move away from the mall in June. It's painful. I have to move back to where I started from, which is my basement in Douglasville. I'm still there right now. I try to do by appointment only, but it's, I mean, the customers are not forthcoming. Some of them are still skeptical, you know, about the COVID thing. Sure. People don't really want to come. I mean, it's really a struggle for me right now, but I don't want to give up because this is my passion. I love what I'm doing, so I'll keep doing it. I left the mall end of June 2020, and it was a kind of like a wall for me to leave because they didn't want me to leave. They tried everything they could, but unfortunately I cannot continue to pay for the shop rent, my utility, and then most importantly my hours, because I have to go there, sit down from morning till night, burning hours, because I mean the business is not there yet where I can fully employ workers. Certainly. Even though once in a while I have people that come to work for me if I have to go do some other things and stuff like that, but I mean I mean these are sitting here, even with the fact that COVID is out, I still didn't stop designing clothes because I know the COVID is gonna go. So I mean I just have to keep up with new designs, because if you don't have new designs, then you know people would lose interest. So at least once in a while I've been able to make 1 or 2 sales, because like when I was at the mall too, most of my customers I sell to either people coming from the airport, maybe they have a layover at the airport, because most of the time when I see customers I communicate with them, so this is how I got to know. They have layover and they try to check the nearest mall they could go to, so those are the people that would come shop from me. And huge customers that I lost are the people going on cruise. I don't know when cruise is going to be back.
That's true.
I don't know. So I mean it's really painful. And of course early March, April, when COVID was really serious, I would say, even though it's serious now because it's winter time, so everybody's scared again. So people that comes around say, oh, my cousin is having a baby shower, she wants us to wear African attire, people going for family reunion, and people just come in and say, oh, they just want to do a photo shoot with their friends and stuff like that. So I miss the mall, I won't lie, I miss the mall, but I mean there's really nothing I can do right now because I can't afford to keep paying for the shop rent. I mean, there's this saying that says, cut your coat according to your size. So I'm not going to go for a shop that is too expensive because, I mean, everything that I put up together today, it's all my sweat. I didn't get a loan from a bank or anything. So, you know, I started with just few clothes and on and on and on. The little I make from these, I try to turn it over, and then here I am today. So, yeah, I want to shop. I have all these beautiful attires here, but unfortunately it's not in a traffic area where people can see, so it's only people that knows about me that comes around here. So I mean, but above all, I still thank God I'm alive. Yes. COVID free. Sometimes I mix African fabric, which is called the Ankara, but some people know it as dashiki or something, but it's actually called Ankara. Ankara is 100% cotton material from Nigeria or from Africa. So I mix them with some other, like maybe chiffon or scuba or some other kind of fabrics. So I just love something unique, something beautiful, because I mean, like for example, what I'm putting on now, I designed this myself. This is still the Ankara that I talked about, and then I have another beautiful fabric laid over it. It's simple but cute. COVID is the cause of all this, so I mean it really impacted also, like I said, like my husband lost his job, and he does little business on the side. He's a auto dealer, and of course people are not buying cars these days anymore. And yeah, he used to work with an insurance company. So the beginning of the COVID, he just got a call because people. I mean, that was the excuse that was given to him that people were not paying their premium. So that's it. So it's a struggle. Yeah. It's a struggle, but there's one thing that I just believe in, that I mean, no matter what I'm going through, I don't wear it on my face. Yeah, so we gotta be strong. Yeah. COVID is not here. It's just here for a little while. Yeah. It's a passing phase and it's gonna go.
Okay, guys, while we're waiting and we have a moment, I just want to let you know who I am. I am Marquessa Petway out of New York City. And it's interesting because I had the pleasure of being video produced, so to speak, by Johnny about 2 years ago when I was in Atlanta speaking at a national conference talking about the importance of Zoom and how you can use Zoom to grow your business. Pretty much most of the day talking about to many other professional speakers, and it's called the Zoom platform. And on the Zoom platform, it's like I'm in my own news studio. I have been a fan of Zoom since it launched almost a decade ago, and I love it. And of course, in a lot of my circles, I am sort of the Zoom go-to person. And you know why I love it even more right now? Because it's connected so many families and friends. I mean, literally right here on Zoom, as I'm sure many of you have. I hosted my grandmother's 91st birthday just 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow I'll go to church via Zoom, and my pastor loves it. And again, she would not have considered it if it wasn't the pandemic. So this tool has been a godsend for the world to just stay connected. So thank you, Johnny, for having me here. He wanted me to make sure that Zoom was operational and doing what he needed it to do so that he could focus on the TV part. So all of you that are here, I just wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to sort of give it kind of a little bit who I am and why I'm here. And for a living, although Zoom is a big part of what I do, for a living, I am a professional speaker, a business coach, author, all that good stuff. And today, I'm just excited to support my good friend from childhood, Johnny Knudsen, as he puts on his production of the COVID-19 experience in Atlanta. And because of Zoom, it can be shared all over the place. So that's really cool. This is making me so happy. Guys, right there, right below your name, there's a few things you can do. You can raise your hand there, or you can put in chat, or you can chat me directly and let me know if you would like to raise your hand. So if you can let me know, that would be fabulous.
Joined by one of the People T board members, Ron Shakur is in the house.
Hi, Ron. You're live streaming all over the place there.
Come on in here.
All right. In the house.
You don't have to have the mic. Can you guys hear Ron?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Ron is a producer and a board member here at People TV. Interviews and perspectives. Yeah. And actually, we were on, was it last Monday?
Last Monday, huh? Every Monday at 6 p.m.
Every Monday at 6 p.m. I think that I'm almost there in terms of being able to show you guys a little bit of the footage. I see Drummond, Reginald.
Hey, what's up, family?
Hey, how you doing?
Try to get this. Let me see. Can you guys see me? I'm in here.
Can you start your video for us?
I'm about to get back over there.
Now, Reggie is also another People TV producer, and Reggie, I've heard that you've also been doing some acting out with COVID-19. Tell us, when you get yourself situated, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing here in Atlanta with COVID-19.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get my video in here, but you guys can hear me, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we've been doing every night at 9 o'clock, we've been doing what we call Corona Action Preparation Training, Information Mobilization, Empowerment. And we've really been doing that for since really December of last year. So about a year, and it kind of metamorphoses into awareness about COVID-19. And we went through all the different things. We had a lot of different guests that talked about it, from conspiracy all the way where we are now, even when we dealt with getting people benefits, the packages and things of that nature, and even fast forward dealing with the vaccine right now. So we're constantly evolving.
What's the feedback on the street? What are people saying about what you guys are doing? What are you hearing?
Well, I just came off the street, so the streets are mixed. When you walk around with people, I'm what I call a hybrid. I keep my mask. I have my sanitizer. I maintain social distancing, but I'm also interacting with other people. So I see people that don't have masks, don't do all of that, and like the brother said earlier, a lot of people have not felt or had the experience of having someone that they knew that had COVID-19. So when we look at COVID-19, we say certificate of vaccination, ID number 19, pandemic, or pandemonium. We had a split decision over here in the United States because there are still people that look at it as a possible hoax. So you got that. And, people have valid reasoning for that, even when it comes down to the vaccine.
What's the valid reasoning?
Well, we got to take a deep breath. I hope you guys are sitting down. Some people think that the government is just trying to control the efforts and actions of people. So this has been going on a long time. And when you look at the New World Order, all this type of stuff, if you look at all types of stuff, Rex 84, all my conspiracy, I know Brother Sharif, not saying you're a conspiracy person, but, we've been doing this thing, waiting for the New World Order since 95. 2000 was supposed to be the year. Remember that? When everything was supposed to get jacked up, and then we went to the Mayan calendar and all this type of stuff. Yeah. So a lot of people have been prepping. And we knew a day would come where they want to get all people back in order because people got too much freedom. So, if you look at it like that and you see some of the things that are playing out and you see this COVID-19 certificate of vaccination ID number 19, which has a patent that goes back to 2003. Now, when you look at all that, you look at all the stuff that's involved, and you look at what would it take to move and motivate people to do a particular thing or behave a particular way, this would be it. So, you have to look at that. Even if you don't agree with it, even when our biblical people, we talk about Armageddon, that day, the mark of the beast and all this type of stuff. But anyway, it's a lot of stuff out there. So everybody's kind of in their own world trying to figure this thing out.
Wow.
Yeah, I will. When you mentioned talking about conspiracy theories, it made me think. Mr. Johnson, are you still with us? Did you hear this conversation? What do you think about the conspiracy theory and hoax effects that people are? I don't really understand it myself, but
I don't understand it. And to be quite frank, it is foolish. It is foolishness to believe it. Okay. However, I can understand why some people believe it, because it is a reflection of the quality of education that's at play. Education that has been so constrained and restricted, so narrowly focused that people naturally think inside the box. They don't know how to think outside the box to examine reality and make decisions accordingly.
You said that very well, Ed. I completely agree. But again, our country is divided, and that includes COVID.
Right.
In terms of believing it. So, oh, wow, yay, we got your face.
Thank you. Well, and it starts from the top. I mean,
yeah.
And you look at, I've been a prepper since maybe 94. And back then we were prepping for the year 2000. Everybody said it was going to be over, all this type stuff. And, COVID-19 kind of put us in a position where all the things that needed to be changed just like that. They said, well, how can we shut down the churches? How can we shut down the clubs? How can we shut down sports? How can we close and move and motivate people to do something totally different than before?
Well, this is still a part of the conspiracy theory. Is that still?
Yes.
I got Ron Shakur here, and he wanted to say a little something about that.
Yeah, I want to say something. I came in here and there's a lot of space, and we can create space, but I kind of feel safe. But I think we got to act kind of respectful when somebody, Johnny just told me, where's your mask? So I think that we're going to have to be able to ask that question and don't get offended, because the truth is that we really don't know how this thing is moving, but we know it's moving. So, we can't be so relaxed that we can't wear a mask.
Right.
Don't be so relaxed that you can't wear a mask, because we do know that viruses have happened for centuries, plagues that have happened before in history. So be respectful. But when somebody coughs or someone sneezes, we don't have to head for the mountains. So to have respectful ground, and because it is something real going on, and viruses is not new to society.
But you know what? A lot of us, you just said we've had the virus before. Have you ever lived through a pandemic, or were you? I'm serious. I'd love to know the answer to that.
That was actually one of my videos.
Okay, gotcha.
Unless you're 100 years old, very few of us have lived through a pandemic.
Right.
The last actual pandemic that we really had was here in America was in 1918 or something like that?
Yeah. Well, the last big thing that we had was the swine flu.
H1N1.
Well, the swine flu back in 1976, when they motivated people to take vaccines.
down completely for a while. But once people weren't afraid to get back out or to order online, then they started coming, more frequently.
We're out here today because today is the main election day for the United States, and we're here to vote the president of our choice to run this country for the next 4 years. I partnered up with Golden Plus. This is a husband and wife team, and we decided to go to all the polls as much as we could today and give out free food to let people know and encourage them that we do have their backs and we are appreciative to the poll workers and also the voters. That's what makes America good.
So yes, we have authentic Jamaican cuisine. We have 2 chefs, and they're both from the islands, over 30 years of combined experience. We have our famous braised oxtails. We also have a dish that's specially to us, curried oxtails, jerk chicken, and today we gave out free 500 meals support with Mama D, complimentary.
Do not let your guard down. Go out to vote. If you haven't got out, get out. So at the end of the day, we have to build back this country. It's up to us. Ladies and gentlemen, we need each other. And when I'm in Atlanta and I'm at home, guess who I talk to? People TV.
You're watching People TV, Channel 24. Call your state legislator. Call your city council person. Write them, email them, and say, I want my People TV, because I know that free speech ain't free. Help save our voices. Save People TV. You're watching People TV, Channel 24.
Okay, my name is Nature Dean. That's Naturedean.
Firstly, thank you for allowing me to, take a little bit of your time, especially during this pandemic. I've been asking everybody a similar question up front to kind of get their mind ticking a little bit on this process. And that question is, where were you? When was it? What do you remember about when you first realized that this pandemic was real?
Well, let me first start by saying it's my pleasure and my honor to be doing this interview to talk about what's going on with the pandemic. So when I first heard about the pandemic, I was working in a hospital. I am a paramedic. I've been a paramedic for 12 years. I've been in the medical field for 14 years. And I also work on an ambulance and also in the hospital. I just remember feeling that grave sense of hopelessness, and then just seeing like an arrested fear within the healthcare community. Like everybody is talking about, oh, it's called COVID, it's called COVID-19, it's coronavirus, and it was not pretty, nothing to joke about. When I first heard about COVID, I want to say that it was between November, December, and then I remember going to Miami, and so everybody's kind of, moving about normally. So you really don't know what to take serious or what to, what to pay attention to or not. Now it's January, and then boom, like, hey, everybody stay in. If you're an essential worker, you need this note. And it was like a sheer sense of panic. And me being the advanced worker that I am, like I said, I've been doing this for 14 years, like it's very little that scares me. And just to, go to work on my day-to-day basis, you can't just, move like you used to. Heck, you can't even go to the store and get what you needed to. And I think that's when it set in for me, was that life had absolutely changed. And then, of course, April happened. So April, the reason I brought up April is because I got sick.
With COVID? So you're a survivor?
Yes.
Okay.
The symptoms wasn't what they were describing in the news, but for me, I started to have the stomach cramps, the high fever. I was sleepy all the time. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to drink, but I knew I needed to. I lost a couple pounds, and like I just had low energy. Of course, the coughing, like I started to have respiratory issues, such as wheezing at night. I could just hear that shake, rattle, and roll, that very arrested work of breathing, and it scared me because I didn't know what to do. I mean, the scariest thing is to not be able to catch your breath. And I want to equate it to like it being a very sucky flu. And I know the flu compared to what they say COVID-19 is, it is, excuse me, is like a walk in the park. But this was like a supercharged kind of flu. It was, but it was COVID. And I made it. And, you know, my heart goes out to the families that, you know, have family members who didn't, or who had, you know, a harder time getting through it. Everybody is different, but nothing can prepare you for that. And what my symptoms were very early on compared to what's going on now. And it absolutely is worse, in my opinion, now because even though we know a little bit more about it, people are kind of getting lax with the freedoms. I can go outside now, or as long as I wear my mask, I'm good. But it's very much different, because if anybody in the healthcare field or just general life knows that you can be infected with the bug. There's germs everywhere, and you take something for it, you treat it, and then you get reintroduced to it. Well, then that previous bug is not the same one that it was. It's now, they call them superbugs. So, you know, it learns how to fight, you know, the previous remedies. And then, you know, now the strains are different. It's, you know, so that's why I believe that it's worse now, because it's learned how to mutate. It's learned how to, you know, beat the odds, if you will. So.
I mean, I would hear my family say, "Patients, are you being careful?" I'm like, yeah. But for me, I outlived the swine flu. I outlived the AIDS epidemic when they didn't know anything about it. That's when I went into nursing. So to me, it was just another one of those things where you just do what people say do, and then, you know, you hope you come out without getting it. That's the way I looked at it. So I wasn't on the paranoid side of nursing, because I nursed in a different time, and a lot of the young nurses had that idea, oh my God, we're all gonna die. But that wasn't my perception, because I've outlived a whole bunch of other diseases.
What other factors, other than a fear response, how you actually did end up contracting the disease?
I did. The way I was affected, because like I said, I work a lot, and my environment and my circle is very small. My social life evolved around the people that I work with, and my outlets, all of my outlets were closed, for lack of a better word, that I would have before COVID. I couldn't do any of those activities anymore. I was a hiker. I like to go to the mall. I frequent just different places around the city. I stayed pretty active and just things. So after COVID, I became very depressed.
You said you became depressed after
before I got COVID.
Before you got COVID?
Before I got COVID,
okay.
When they shut down the city of Atlanta, I couldn't cope because I don't have a family here. So when I came home, I had no outlet, no one to vent to about the long hours at work. And so I just became depressed. There was nothing for me to do. All I had was my animals. And so that's how it affected me. So I found other things to keep me active, and it was going out.
Going out to clubs?
Going out to clubs, going out to bars that would allow you to go without a mask. Because if you work 5 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I wore a mask 60% of that time at work because it was mandatory. When I was off those 2 days a week, I couldn't even make myself wear a mask and stay at home. Because my mental health was way more important than because I was about to go stir crazy, for lack of a better word.
So after having contracted, tell me, what were your symptoms like? You have people now who are considered what's called long haulers.
Well, my initial symptoms that started around the 4th of July. It just kind of like one day I felt great, and by the end of the day I was like exhausted. And that was kind of uncommon for me because I was a very active person. I run, I was outside doing things, and I was like, wow, I feel tired. And it was almost like I had allergies. And I remember going into work and was sneezing in my mask. I was like, gosh, I'm sneezing. So then after that, the weekend came, then I was sitting at a bar and I lost my sense of taste. And I looked at my friend, was like, can you taste that food? And she was like, yeah. I was like, oh my God.
So you knew?
I knew at that point. I was like, man, I might have COVID. So then I said, well, maybe not. Maybe it's just my allergies. So I went to work the next day, and by that 12-hour shift, I felt really bad. I was like, well, I guess I didn't have fever. I just felt bad. Matter of fact, I didn't have fever the entire 10 weeks I was out. I had mainly shortness of breath. Whereas I ran daily, I couldn't walk my dogs maybe 20 feet without having shortness of breath. It was scary because me being in ICU, I saw the worst part of COVID.
So you were fearful that you might become some of the patients that you had treated?
Yeah, I thought, well, shoot, I could die from this.
I'm Samuel Smith II, and it is spelled SAMUEL SMITH.
I am Cassandra Sistrunk. That's CASSANDRA. Last name Sistrunk, SISTRUNK. For me, I'm also an educator. We have 2 young boys, preschool and nursery age. So I was working part-time at their school. They attended private school in Fulton County. And of course, like you said, you heard the whispers. We watch the news every morning. So we were seeing it kind of on the news come closer to America. And I think once it hit, this was around the time that our oldest was turning 4. His birthday was coming up. I was supposed to be going on a girls' trip with some friends. So it literally hit probably within, I felt like, a weekend or a day or two. So when we, because I was even wavering if I was still going to go on the girls' trip. We were nervous about the kids going to school or what it would look like when we came back. Because I was going on the girls' trip with some of the teachers from the school. So we were all talking about it. We ended up going. It was a 2-day trip to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So we ended up going, and even when we were going, we were very nervous. We had so many people telling us we shouldn't be going because it was right when it was about to hit. Including Sam. He was telling me not to go. And we ended up going. I was nervous, but when we came back, it was it was crazy just us coming back. We were on the road from South Carolina to Georgia. We stopped at a Walmart right outside of the state line because we heard that all of the stores in the Atlanta area were gone in terms of like toiletries and essentials. So we stopped at the state line, all of us, it was about 8 of us. We packed up the van, all of our own essential items for our homes, and then we went home, and it was like shutdown time, quarantine time. The kids were in, we had food. I knew we were out of school for the rest of the semester. Sam was having to teach virtually on Zoom, and it was definitely an adjustment. I don't know how else to say it. We made it through. They had a fantastic end of the school year. I was homeschooling in the mornings with the boys. So it was definitely one of those experiences that we'll talk about probably for the rest of our life.
Just as a teacher, doing Zoom with your students, what is that like?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge on a number of different fronts, mainly because you have the students who you would think were technologically sound and will be able to navigate through the technology, but that's proven to be a challenge. The parents, again, technology's been a challenge with just the logistical aspects of it, the communication with the parents, and then you have the parents who have to work, and then they leave the kids home, and the kids think that it's a free-for-all. So, you got kids who participate, and you have the kids who turn the camera on, but when you ask them a question, they're not responding. They're probably somewhere on the Xbox playing the game. But for the ones who are engaged, it's been quite a treat because it allows you to think outside of the box and not be as traditional, standing in front of a whiteboard or a smart board with a pen and just writing on the board. It forces you to come out of the box. Just the schedule, a lot of the kids, they have to sit in front of the computer for 8 hours straight, the ones who are at home. And then at my school, we're actually teaching half digitally, more than half digitally, actually. We average anywhere from 8 to 10 to 15 kids maybe in the classroom now, and they're all social distance. So that kind of adds to the mix. So you have to lecture to the kids who are there, but you can't forget about the kids who are on the computer screen as well.
Right.
So
keeping everybody engaged and involved, I'm sure that's quite a task in itself.
Absolutely it is.
So I usually will say, as an artist, honestly, this is our time to shine. I don't know how else to put it. When I was teaching part-time at the boys' private school when the pandemic hit, of course, my position was paused in May. It was never fulfilled to come back in the fall. So when it comes to me having to say, okay, what's another source of income? Because bills are still happening during the pandemic. I've always been an artist. I've always painted, but I have started painting more. I've painted more this year, probably than I did last year for sure. But it's a new world. It's like a new frontier when it comes to what the pandemic is doing in terms of some brick and mortars not coming back. People's jobs being phased out, so some of their disposable income isn't there, and they're not able to purchase art the same. It just makes us as artists become more creative. I also host paint parties and have been for about 5 years, sipping paint. So I'll come in mobile, I'll come in, bring everything, and we can all paint a picture together. Of course, when the pandemic happened, I had events on my calendar, and then I had no events on my calendar. So virtual sip and paints are totally the new wave right now.
How is that? Have you done?
I have a virtual sip and paint almost every weekend.
Okay, and how's that been going?
And it's been fantastic.
Hi everybody, I'm Shania Chavis-Rucker, and happening in Fulton. Fulton County Commissioners over 65 get the COVID-19 vaccination offered by the Fulton County Board of Health at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Easy experience, piece of cake. I thought it was important for me to get mine today as early as possible in the process as chair of the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County, just to set an example, to say to the 1,200,000 people that we represent that it's okay, that it's the right thing to do. I also want to say up front that there was no preferential treatment for me, a very pleasant experience, and I'm just thankful that we're able to do it here with one of our partner corporations, the Atlanta Falcons, the Atlanta United, here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
We all appreciate very much to have the opportunity to work with our friends from Fulton County and from Georgia to bring together the vaccines to everybody as quickly as possible. We were on a phone call just after Christmas and were discussing options how we could help. And everybody here at the stadium felt immediately whatever we can do to support the healthcare workers to administer vaccines, we will do.
I was glad that Commissioner Pitts and I were able to do this together. We think it's very, very important that the public understand that this vaccine is safe. I believe that with all my heart. My doctors have informed me of that. Scientists have informed me of that, and I believe it, and I hope everyone will have the opportunity to take this vaccine and do it willingly. I think it's very, very important for the country, very, very important for our state, and very important for our capital city and our county here at Fulton.
With the vaccine, based upon what the scientists and what the medical professionals are saying, this is the solution to the problem long term. However, I must emphasize that even though you take the shot, you still need to be mindful of the predicament that we're in, which means that we have to continue to wear our masks, we have to continue to practice social distancing, and to wash our hands as frequently as possible.
That's just some of what's happening in Fulton. To stay connected, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also check us out anytime on our YouTube channel, so please do us a favor and subscribe.
Back now with what NBC News has learned about drugs that could keep COVID patients out of the hospital. Thousands of doses going unused. Now officials are pleading with doctors to get them to patients in need. Here's Kristen Dahlgren.
As Americans scramble to find doses of a dwindling vaccine supply, and hospitals overflow, shelves are piling up with monoclonal antibodies, a potentially life-saving drug used by former President Trump during his bout with COVID.
I do think it's a failure that we didn't make it more known to the lay public this was an option for them.
The drug mimics the body's immune response and has been authorized for high-risk patients showing mild to moderate symptoms. It decreases the chance of developing severe illness and lowers the risk of hospitalization. But it's given as an infusion in a clinical setting, difficult at a time when space and staffing is in short supply. To date, Michigan has received 20,000 doses, but has administered just 10%.
It's awareness really across the spectrum from frontline clinicians, primary care physicians, emergency physicians, infectious disease docs, just knowing that it's a tool in the toolbox.
Jerry Bueller got monoclonal antibodies when she tested positive for COVID last month. Her symptoms never got worse.
I was back to running probably the next day.
The infusion works best when the viral load is highest, which is why the FDA requires it to be given within 10 days of a positive test. Experts say patients should advocate for themselves and ask their primary care doctors if it's right for them. A potentially life-saving treatment in abundant supply, just waiting to be used. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News.
I'd like to, in the last few minutes that we have, kind of do a little bit of a round robin with everybody who's willing to just kind of take a couple of minutes and talk about lessons learned and you know, the way forward from your perspective.
Sis, I was sharing with them that you did have COVID. It was a scare. I remember you called me when I was in Atlanta about to go on stage. But can you just share with the lovely Atlanta a group that's here, kind of what was that like?
Having COVID was very scary. It felt like somebody actually just beat you up every single day. You didn't have energy to do anything. I mean, just getting out of bed was a task. we had, as you know, McCoy, we had family meetings every morning, so everybody could check on me to make sure that I was okay. And when I got COVID, it was right after Aunt Margaret's funeral, and unfortunately, she passed away from COVID. And my mom was very, very worried, very concerned, but she knew that she could not come around me. So what she did was she came and stood across the street so she could at least see me, to see that I was okay.
That's our mom.
But I did have to go to the hospital because every day it was just like I never ran a fever, but I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. It just felt like somebody was on my chest, and it kept getting tighter every single day. And then it got to a point to where I couldn't swallow, and I got nervous, and I went to the ER, and I was just sitting there, and I had a moment, and I called my sister, and she was in a conference. I didn't know that, and she was kind of mouthing like, "What's wrong?" And I just started crying. And she went outside, and I said, "I'm in the hospital," because I really couldn't catch my breath or anything like that. And they wouldn't let no one come with me. I had to be by myself. And but they gave me some steroids and sent me home. But the steroids made my blood pressure go up, so I had to go on blood pressure medication for that. It took about 2 months for me to feel totally back, kind of to myself. But I did experience hair loss from COVID, which I'm still dealing with. And I had COVID in June. So now we're in December, and I still have some side effects from it.
So you're a long hauler.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just, and as a result, I don't go anywhere. I don't go anywhere. I work from home. I get my groceries delivered. I go to church online because I like to spend time with my parents, and I'm not going to put my parents at risk. You know, it's just not worth it in the end. And so I stay in the house. My son, I heard her talking about
special needs.
my special needs. My son has autism. And he was in school. He was in the life program. He had already graduated, but they have a life skills program. And we were right in the middle of getting him, trying to transition him to get equipment to be able to help his speech. He was in speech, and he was volunteering. He was doing all this stuff, and all of it just stopped. And he did not understand it. Even though he could go online, he didn't understand. I couldn't just put him online and then go to work. I had to sit there with him. So now, because I work, I have to do it after I get off of work, because I have to sit next to him and make sure that everything is done. He doesn't really understand what's going on. All he knows is that we can't go certain places. That's all he kind of really knows about that. But yeah, I mean, it's no joke. And I mean, I was very, very upset because I just came. I had to make a quick trip, and I saw the mall. I had to pass the mall, and when I say it is beyond crowded, it is beyond crowded. And I just shook my head. I was like, okay, well.
Wow. Well, as long as you get that gift, it's more important than life, right? Thank you, sis. And I'm just happy that you're here to tell the story, because our family, that would have been tough. And we did lose our aunt, but I just thank God that you're here. All right. So you got it, Johnny.
We're really running out of time. I want to wrap up. I want to be sure to thank Fulton County Arts Council, and I especially want to thank People TV, all of the board members who really went above and beyond to try to help me get these things to get in here at least. We did have a huge technical issue but I still want to to thank them, and we're going to get this right in the future. In the future, I'm going to bring Zoom to People TV and the audience of People TV. We're going to be with this this COVID-19 pandemic for still some time to come. The therapeutics and vaccines are here now, but it's going to be quite a while before it gets down to the street to you and I. Right now, it's going to the specialists. The people are out there fighting the good fight, trying to keep us all alive. We've got to maintain our vigilance. We've got to social distance. We've got to wash our hands. I don't care if you feel like someone is infringing upon your rights, you still have to wear your mask. And in the little bit of time that we have left, like I said, I want to just, thank the Fulton County Arts Council. I want to thank all of you who joined me today, all of my friends and loved ones and everybody else who got, a text or an email and told somebody about the program. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Have a happy holidays and make it through to the new year, okay? Thank you so very much. Thank you, Marquessa, all the way from New York City, my Zoom queen, producer. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny, it's so good to see you again. Reginald, thank you so very much. Mr. Howard, thank you. Hey, Sissy, I love you. Sister Angela, my wife, I love you so much. Everyone, thank you so much.
King Corona appears courtesy of the Great Barrington Public Theater and the Berkshire Film and Media Collaborative. CDC TV and NBC News Now appear courtesy of fair use.
You're watching People TV, Channel 24. Call your state legislator. Call your city council person. Write them, email them, and say, I want my People TV, because I know that free speech ain't free.
Help save our voices. Save People TV.
You're watching People TV, Channel 24.